All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at something pretty extraordinary today, a piece of historical fiction that imagines the final, powerful words of Mary Wollstonecraft. And if you're not familiar with her, she was an absolute pioneer of feminist thought. So we're exploring a manuscript that, yeah, it's imagined, but it perfectly channels the fierce spirit of a woman who was truly ahead of her time. So the scene opens, and it is just incredibly intense. Picture this. It's 1797. Mary Wollstonecraft is on her deathbed, fighting a fever just after giving birth to her second daughter. And in what she knows are her last clear moments, she starts writing this urgent, desperate letter to the very children she will never get to see grow up. Okay, so first things first, and this is super important. This manuscript is a work of fiction. You're not going to find this thing tucked away in some library archive. But what it does so brilliantly is use the real, often painful truths of Wollstonecraft's life to dig into the wisdom she fought so hard for. It's like a final testament from a mind that was taken from the world way too soon. Right, so the big question is, how did she become that person? You know, the woman who had the guts to take on the biggest philosophers of her time and call out their blind spots? Well, according to this fictional manuscript, it all started with two very, very different kinds of education. So check this out. On the one hand, you've got what the manuscript calls the education of expectations. Think of this as the school of hard knocks. It taught her that a woman's job was to be quiet, to submit, and to figure out how to survive her father's violent rages. But then, on the other hand, you have the education of the understanding. This was her escape, a world she found in books, a world full of reason, philosophy, and the totally radical idea that you should question authority. It's that friction between her reality and the world of ideas where her revolutionary spirit was really born. And in her reading, she found these incredible ideas, but also things that just made her blood boil. Take a look at this quote. It's from Rousseau, of all people. Yeah, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the guy who was all about liberty and freedom from tyranny, he wrote that? So her reaction? It wasn't some polite academic disagreement. No way. The manuscript says she literally hurled the book across the room. You can just feel that anger, right? That sense of betrayal. The same man who could see so clearly the injustice of a king ruling over a commoner was somehow totally blind to the injustice of a man ruling over a woman. In that moment, that feeling of, wait a minute, it sparks this question that basically drives the rest of her life's work. She realized she couldn't just read these great thinkers and accept everything they said. She had to read against them, to actively hunt for the biases and the blind spots that they themselves couldn't see. Okay, so let's follow this thread. Because deciding to live by your own rules, to think for yourself, well, it came with a huge, huge personal price tag. Her life wasn't some quiet, intellectual exercise. Oh no, it was a complete storm of passion, revolution, and at times, crushing heartbreak. Just look at this timeline. It is an absolute whirlwind. We're talking about a 5-year span here. 5 years. She goes from revolutionary hope in Paris to having a child out of wedlock to being so brutally betrayed she tries to end her life twice before finally finding a true partnership, which is then tragically cut short. It's just relentless. And Paris, wow, Paris taught her a really tough lesson. The very same revolutionaries screaming about the rights of man were the ones shutting down women's political clubs and, yeah, literally sending women who demanded their own rights to the guillotine. It was proof that even the most radical men could still be deeply prejudiced. This is where the manuscript gets really interesting. It takes that famous, or maybe infamous, affair she had and totally reframes it. The argument is, look, this wasn't just her being unwise or loving too much. No, it was the predictable, tragic outcome of a woman trying to love as an equal in a world that was, well, anything but equal. A world where a man could just walk away, leaving the woman to face all the consequences. All right, so out of all this wreckage, this personal and political heartbreak, she starts to build something new. A different kind of wisdom. The kind of wisdom she wants to pass on to her daughters. She completely redefines what independence even means. It's not just about, living by yourself. True freedom, she argues, is about having the power to make your own choices. It's having the money, the education, and just the sheer psychological strength to stand on your own 2 feet. Because without that capacity, any so-called freedom is just an empty word. So, it all boils down to this: 4 key lessons she leaves for her daughters. And what I love is how it's not black and white. It's like Yeah, reason is vital, but without passion, it's useless. And love is going to hurt, but it's still worth it. And maybe most importantly, you are going to fail. That's okay. The only real failure is giving up before you even start. It's this messy, beautiful, real-world philosophy. So, as we get to the end of the manuscript, in these imagined final moments, she's not tying everything up with a neat little bow. Not at all. Instead, she's looking forward, thinking about all the work she hasn't finished, all the books she still needed to write. I mean, just take a second and look at this list. The sheer vision here is staggering. She's basically mapping out the next 100 years of feminist thought. She saw it all so clearly that it wasn't just one problem, but this whole web of issues, from money to sex to friendship to what it even means to get older as a woman. And this is such a powerful and kind of bittersweet thought, isn't it? She knew. She knew she wasn't going to see the finish line. The victory wasn't for her. Her only hope was that her life, as messy and difficult as it was, might plant some seeds, seeds that would bloom long, long after she was gone. And that really gets to the heart of it all. The manuscript leaves us with this one final, haunting question. And it's a question that honestly feels like it could have been written yesterday. How do we keep hope alive when everything around us is telling us to just give up? That's the challenge she lived, and that is the legacy she leaves behind.